Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell, one of the best at covering Major League Baseball for 4 decades plus. Kevin Kernan, ball9.com. Joins us on the Bobby V Sports Tech hotline from Florida. He's at the Mets and the Marlins game today. What's the weather? Make us really jealous right now, KK. What's the weather like? And you're just sitting there watching a ball game.
Well, it's about 86 degrees, and we got a nice little breeze. I actually sat with some scouts in the stands for like 3 or 4 innings, and it was, I almost say it was like nice air conditioning. It was a perfect day, Dibs. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better day. The weather's been incredible this whole spring down here, and it's actually way better than Arizona if you talk to the people going out there. So it's been great. Real happy with it.
What are the scouts whispering about these new rules and how long it might take to change the game?
Well, it's interesting because I talked to Buck Showalter about this, and that's huge. You know, Buck, before the game even started today, he said it's going to be an incredible advantage for the pitcher, he thinks. So taking the sign off the rubber is going to really throw these batters off if the pitchers really get going with it. I don't know if you saw the other day, Scherzer, who worked on all this in the offseason, knew it was coming. He had a 27-second strikeout. So I think it's really going to be tough on the hitters. I really do. As much as they've tried to make this all for hitting, and Buck has said he's had for the first time in his career, he says he's had to tell players, I don't know, I'll check that because some of the up in games. Yesterday, he came out 3 times, twice.
Yeah, let's see if we can get him called back. See if we can get him on another line there, Kurt. He's breaking up. Kurt, you're breaking up like crazy.
Yeah, we can barely hear you, KK.
Uh-oh. He's probably, you know where he is? He's underneath those metal bleachers.
He
down
might be under the metal
or
or in the concrete. He says he's going to find a quiet spot. He's such a class act.
I love that, though. The Scherzer is said that he loved it and he wants to dominate.
I loved working at a fast pace, and when you were in a groove, you didn't want to be stopped. And like I said the other day, Eddie Murray or some guys like that were always good at knowing that.
Yeah.
They'd be the first one, and it annoyed the crap out of me because Eddie would do it to me constantly because he knew it got in my head. And he would be like, time, right when you're coming up and you're just about ready to start your motion, that's when Eddie Murray's calling time. And you don't always get it. But, the best hitters, and obviously he's a Hall of Famer, he would get timeout most of the time.
All right, Kurt's working on him. Let's see what we get here with old Kernan. All right, Kurt got it back. Awesome.
All right, KK.
Excellent.
Sorry, Dave.
No, let's pick it up with what you were talking about. So Scherzer's already worked on it, which means Verlander's probably worked on it, and the veteran guys are going to use it to their advantage. And this is what I talked about before. The best hitters would break up your timing. A lot of it is strategic when you're at the plate, especially in a big moment. You're getting signs and stuff. You don't want to be directed to be, your foot's got to be in there by the 8-second mark and stuff like that. What if you don't even have the sign to lay down a suicide bunt here to try to win a ball game? I mean, that's the things I know guys will adjust to, but it's in spring training. But, these guys feel that it might help the pitchers more.
Yeah, it's definitely going to help the pitchers more if the pitchers put the work into it. And the other X factor here for the pitchers, they got to be in shape, Dibs. It can no longer be like, you got time to think and walk around the mound a little bit. It happened with some young pitchers yesterday. The guy, he kind of lost his rhythm and he lost his ability to kind of pitch, and he was gassed. And the scouts tell me you can see that these guys getting gassed early. So if you're not doing your homework, like a Scherzer, Verlander, I see the veteran guys. I guess the best way I can put it, if you're going to be one of these guys betting on baseball, you would probably look for veteran pitchers going early in the season, having an advantage, and the young guys not quite figuring out. But if you take that, sign off you can do so much. You can screw up the hitter's rhythm left and right, and there's no more. Garcia Powers doing the batting gloves type thing. So it's going to be really different, and I think it's really going to help the pitchers. And I think as we get into the season, the batters may get some advantage if the pitchers get gassed early and maybe don't do their work and running and all that stuff you guys used to do. Because you really got to be in super shape now as a pitcher.
What are your thoughts, or at least what are you seeing in the first couple of days of no shift? How has that affected everything?
It really hasn't affected much, to be quite honest. I have seen some outfielders shift. They had a shift the other day on McNeil where he was basically they gave him the right field line, and there was almost like 70 yards, it seemed like, between outfielders. But in the infield so far, I think guys are, they're not really, it hasn't made an impact at all. And I think, in my mind, I think the shift was always overrated, the impact it had. It was the players' inability to take advantage of the shift, the hitters. And right now, I still think you're going to have the hitters in the same mindset. So if they're swinging, they're swinging from the heels, trying to hit it out of the park, they're going to be in the same boat. You're not going to have many of those. You'll get them occasionally, but that deep single where they throw you out from right field, that's the only thing I could see. I've seen a couple singles like that may have been caught in the past, but it's really up to the hitters. If they don't really just, I think this is another, I'm glad you asked that because this is very important. I think the hitters, because of this rhythm now, they're going to have to shorten their swings. And if they shorten their swing, like today, Lindor hit a home run, short, nice stroke. Boom, it went out. Because I think they can sit on fastballs right now, because these pitchers are trying to get ahead and do things. It's early in the spring, so I'm not getting carried about it. But I think you can really ambush some guys now, because these pitchers are worried about so many things. The other thing I've noticed, very interesting, I've seen some PFP that's been really bad. Guys don't cover first and things like that because they're so worried about the clock that they kind of aren't doing the other things right. So it's really interesting. And the other thing, I won't mention the umpire's name, but there was a couple calls made in the game the other day, and the manager had told me this, and the umpire basically screwed everything up because he wasn't up on all the rules.
Great, give him a raise.
Yeah, exactly. So you're seeing now. The bottom line, though, is that the games are faster. But I'm watching now. There's a young pitcher. Sean Reynolds, on the mound for the Marlins. He just walked a guy on 4 pitches, has no rhythm. So it gets back to my point. These young guys, I think, are going to struggle with this, even though they had it in the minor leagues. That time goes fast. I mean, I've seen a few calls already today where the hitters the hitter also will not be able to focus on, kind of the job he has to do. And the other thing is, the fielders really have to be on their toes. I haven't seen that yet totally. So it's a new world. It's a little quicker, but here's my thing. It's going to be faster, but is the play going to be better? I don't know about that.
Talking to Kevin Kernan, an author at ball9.com. Tell me about the Mets. Mets are spending a lot of money. What are their expectations? Are they too high? And Steve Cohen, as far as he's concerned, I mean, is everybody excited the way they should be? I guess if I were the owner and I spent that much money, I'd want my fan base to be excited about what we've put on the field.
Yeah, I think they're going to be super excited. The whole key comes down to the health of the guys, but Scherzer looks good. Verlander looks good so far. I think he's going Saturday again. And I think they got some, they need a little bit more power, to get through. And I think here's what they learned last year, Dibs. They learned that we can't peak too early. It's a new world now in baseball. You cannot, as crazy as it sounds, the regular season, you can't, you got to make sure you get to the playoffs, but you can't peak too early. And the Mets peaked early. They weren't ready for the playoffs. They were burned out. I think they got outscored 13-1. So guys like Scherzer and Verlander, of course, these guys know now. I think you're going to see a lot more guys, pitchers taking time off during the season and really point towards the postseason. But the Mets, I think they're a little short of catcher right now. But I think what I've seen of Lindor, he looks like the old Lindor of old, and I think that's huge. Alonso's swing looks good. I think they're going to be. They've learned a lot as a team. I think they'll be right in there. I think the Braves, tough division. I think not having Harper is going to hurt the Phillies early on, but, we've talked about it, but I love the Trey Turner move. So it's a tough division, but the goal now is just get there, and I think the Mets will have a totally different mindset than they had last year. I think they thought they were a little bit better than they were last year. I think this year they understand they got to prove it on the field.
Bold prediction from Ben Darnell on March 1st, 2023. Peter Alonso is going to chase after 62. What do you think about that, Kernan?
That's bold, but I could see it. He's got I think, and what we were just talking about earlier, I think Alonso is one of those guys who I think gets in trouble when he overthinks. So I think the pitch clock will be an advantage to a hitter like Alonso who just get in there, grip it, and rip it. So I don't think it's that crazy. Again, I saw Judge come through early on, and I see the same kind of guy in Alonso. He only got, if you remember, Alonso really struggled as a DH. So he needs to keep. He's almost like a chocolate lab. You got to let him run around a little bit. and this, by having this pitch clock now, it's like, okay, get in there, Pete, hit the ball. I mean, he put a couple good swings on today. So, and I think Buck too. The Mets have made some adjustments here and there, and nobody. No, let me give you a small example. I noticed it as soon as I got down there, and I talked to Buck about it today. At their place, Clover Park, the bullpens are no longer on the field. Buck said, "Why are we doing this? Why? First of all, we're catching more balls now because the bullpens aren't in the way. We don't have the guys in 100-degree heat, so they took the 10-pack. We used to be a 10-pack, and they made it into a 4-pack essentially, where 4 pitching rubbers, and then they made 2 other rubbers, where one is a half mound and one is a rehab mound. So." Nobody else would have thought of this. They changed the batting eye, and so the point I'm making is there a lot more attention to detail this year. I think, and Buck will be all over this. I think they're in great shape, and I think I see them. I see them definitely doing well in the playoffs this year. They're not going to be. Nobody's going to sneak up on them again this year.
Kevin Kernan's latest installment on Ball 9 is a great read, Clock World. Talk about Tony Gwynn. I teach this to my young hitters about his approaches and all the different things that he brought to the hitting world. Talk about snug gloves because you don't have time to play with your equipment when you're at the plate now.
Exactly. Tony's first thing that he would always teach, and I've seen it live when he would go to talk in front of groups and things like that. And it's such a simple thing. But he said the first thing you got to do as a hitter, before anything else, is have gloves that fit. Because if you don't have snug gloves, you're going to get wrinkles, and then you're going to get blisters. So that's why all these guys are tugging gloves and doing all this stuff. Tony never dealt with that. Tony, as soon as he walked in, he knew his gloves fit. He knew what he was doing. And I saw a rise today with the Marlins, and they're a fascinating team. We're trying to play everybody out of position, see where that goes. But and that allows him right then and there to get in there. You're ready to hit. You got the gloves working, and you're comfortable. This is about comfort now. This new that to me, that's what this all boils down to. Who's ever more comfortable on the mound or in the batter's box now is going to really have more success. So yeah, Tony that's his first thing. So all young players, I know you like to do all these different things, and they mimic. That's the problem too. The minor leaguers mimic the major leaguers, and they're looking at their bat, and they have all the mental skills coaches trying to get them refocused by looking at their bat. Forget about all that stuff. Okay, get in there, have a plan, and I think it's going to be very important for the pitchers. I talked to a pitcher about this too, and he said you got to go every at bat. You got to have a 3-pitch plan before that batter steps in there now. So if you have your plan working, and you're on that mound, and those 15 seconds or 14 seconds and 20 seconds, whatever, depending on man of it, flies by. Basically you're in control. The other day, Scherzer got in a little bit of a jam. It was like a blue pit and something else. Pitching coach came out and basically Scherzer, you could just tell me, chase them off, and he got the next 2 outs easily. So this is. I actually think, even though there's less time between at bats now, there's got to be more preparation. So I think it's going to be it's fascinating, and the hitters will catch up sooner or later, but it's going to be a lot worse for them early on.
One of our favorite Mets on the Rob Dibble Show is Daniel Vogelbach, clocked in at spring training around 270. We all feel that he has set the bar for big boy baseball. Kernan, we have been watching several games, and we are just continuously impressed by the size of some of these guys. Like a lot of the 80s and 90s, a lot of the AAA guys, monsters. The Cardinals are filled with monsters. Have you noticed this too? Like baseball's gotten bigger.
baseball's gotten a lot bigger, and the Cardinals. I can't think of his name right now, but the kid that's kind
Baker.
Yeah.
That dude's
Oh, my
a
God.
doorway.
I just had a big conversation with Rick Hummel, the Hall of Fame writer for the Cardinals, and Rick is here today, and he can mash, and they're all like, not at all, but a bunch of them are like Judge now. So, and the thing I like is that they're big, but they're not over muscular. They're athletic. And I think you're going to see that more. I agree. There's some big guys. Even the Mets, the Mauricio kid, the shortstop, who doesn't have a position because they got Lindor here forever. But this kid, I'm going to see. This kid can hit. He was the MVP of the Dominican Winter League this year, and he's going to be one. I'm saying it right now, just like I called the rise last year with the batting time. When this kid gets a chance, he's going to be a nice surprise, and he's going to be a big player for the Mets in the future. Just question where they're going to play him. Probably want to get him one more year, but he could wind up at third base or the outfield. And he's a monster. He's huge, but he's in shape. He kind of was. And Alvarez, another name I want to mention. I think he's going to have some struggles early on with his hitting style, even though he's the number one prospect for the Mets. So it's going to be fun to watch these young guys making these adjustments because it's a different world. And even I just saw right now, a guy just, he just got picked off at second base. I mean, come on. Basically, back picks are going to be big. You're going to have catchers who go back. And here's the other thing. Every team is going to have a Tim LaCosta, who the Mets have just signed, who can be a guy for stolen bases late in games. And you're going to see that strategy in Game 2 where you steal that base because it's so much easier to steal base. I think they should be going crazy stealing bases this year.
So Mauricio just hit another home run. He's hitting 429 on the spring, 500, one at bat, a pinch hit in the ninth, a 2-run home run, and the kid is just mashing.
I'm looking at it. I just saw it. And what I like about his swing, when we talk about Tony Gwynn and things like that, it's an easy swing.
Yep.
Easy swing. This kid is not, he's not one of these guys that's really laying into it. He's got, like Straw had that kind of power and things like that. Easy swing. That's what this kid has got. And I think from what I had heard a couple years ago, he kind of let himself get out of shape, had to mature a little bit. But it seems to me like he's got his head on straight now. And these kind of kids, I know Buck. I could just tell, you can tell how Buck talks between the lines on things, and you could just tell that he thinks a lot of this kid. And this kid could be like one of those old-time spring training stories where he forces his way into somehow close to the lineup or up shortly. He's great talent. I'm very impressed with him.
You excited for the WBC, my friend?
I am excited for the WBC simply because I think you got that first. Team Israel's not going to go far in the bracket they're in, of course.
Man.
But, the Venezuela team, I was just talking to some Latino reporters about that, and, there's some great brackets. And in that first round, at least 2 teams are going to get knocked out that are really good teams. So I think I think the WBC is going to really going to be exciting for fans. And the interesting thing, too, and this is a negative, but WBC won't have any of the speed-up rules. So these players are going to have to learn it all over again when they come back. But I think the WBC is going to be really exciting. It's a tough time of year to have it, but I think it'll give baseball a nice jolt. And the Miami will be. It's going to have a lot more excitement in Miami for the WBC than the regular season.
Let's talk a little Japan baseball while we're at it, maybe for our Red Sox friends as well. Masataka Yoshida, I know you're not have your eyes on the Red Sox all the time like you do the New York Mets right now, but what can you tell me about Masataka and where you think he's going to fit in the lineup and what kind of career he's going to have over here in the United States?
Well, I think he's. I think from what the scouts have told me, they think he's a little bit overrated. But I will couch that by saying the Japanese players always come over here and kind of just feel it out for a while, so you're not really seeing the real guy. We'll have to see later in the season, but I think it's an oversell for what they did. It's an overplay. I think the Red Sox are grasping at straws right now, and I think this is a perfect example. So I don't think he's going to be as good as advertised. And he could prove me wrong quickly, because we've talked about it before when Ichiro first came over and things like that. But not a lot going on there. I think he's from what I've heard, very average in every way. So we'll see.
Kernan, you're the best. Thank you very much, buddy, on short notice.
Above
and
average in every way.
Exactly. You are above average in every way. Enjoy life down there in Florida. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kevin.
Nice to hear, and always great to be with you guys. And the sunshine is just incredible.
All right.
Enjoy.
We'll be down there soon.
Good. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Kevin.
Kevin Kernan, ball9.com. Everybody talking about Clock World is outstanding. A great read. We'll come back to First Tips Question of the Day next.